Continuing on from last week's Resident Evil episode, this time I'm going to be looking into the unmade Silent Hill games, and obviously one certain game will be spoken about towards the end of this video, but it's not actually the first time a Silent Hill game has been cancelled. In fact, there are a good few other low profile games which were cancelled too, and in this video we'll be looking at them with some weird 3DS game, a main title focused on a priest, and the mysterious Silent Hill, the box. Now, if you want to watch the videos I got my clips from, please be sure to check out the links in the description below, but with that out of the way, be sure to join me as we look into the unmade Silent Hill games. Long before the questionable Silent Hill Book of Memories, another portable game was in production by the same studio, Way Forward. They pitched another concept for the DS this time, and it would have been much closer to the usual Silent Hill formula. Silent Hill for the DS would have featured similar gameplay to the original quadrilogy, with the option of playing it in either an isometric view, similar to Book of Memories, or a more traditional third-person over-the-shoulder style, similar to Silent Hill Homecoming. Mostly switching between the perspectives depending on if you're in a combat scenario or not, or if you're doing some kind of puzzles, with a much larger focus on combat with this title. Now, as stated, the game would have featured a large amount of complex puzzles as well, essentially meaning that the game would have just been a traditional Silent Hill game, but portable. Sadly though, nothing else is really known about this project, except that Konami was not interested in it, and the game was scrapped, meaning that we had to wait another 6 years to see a portable Silent Hill game, and in all honesty, it wasn't really worth the wait. Another concept from 2006 was essentially Silent Hill 5, which would have been created by Silent Hill Origins and Shattered Memories developers Climax. This concept focused on a new town that was kind of being influenced by Silent Hill itself, with the game map constantly shifting time periods and creating mirages to buildings that didn't actually exist. Now, the game would have focused on a priest who was trying to cleanse the town of Silent Hill's evil or something, with rumours of multiple endings depending on the player choices, a kind of staple for the franchise and survival horror in general. Many old villains such as Pyramid Head and the Demon Nurses would have returned, but obviously it's in this list, so none of that really matters, as the game was eventually cancelled after Konami was not interested in the project, instead tasking Climax with Silent Hill Origins, which was released the following year to slightly above average reviews. However, it wasn't exactly a critical darling, and Climax did not continue to work on this version of the project, but they decided to work on it in a different way, removing all the Silent Hill aspects and renaming it to Broken Covenant, but sadly, as is quite common with this show, this version was also eventually scrapped too, leading to basically just a massive waste of everyone's time, if we're being honest. Time for an odd one now. Back in 2007, a game was released titled Dementium: The Ward, and it even got a sequel in 2010. However, in 2015 it was revealed that the games company Renegade Kid, that created both Dementium games, were originally planning for them both to be Silent Hill titles. Yeah, it's strange because originally Dementium was a standalone game, nothing at all related to Silent Hill, but during development the team realised the similarities to the franchise, so ended up pitching the idea to Konami to make the game's official spin-offs to the franchise. But with Konami being Konami and Konami is the worst, or just exceptionally rude, they said they didn't want a team like Renegade Kid to be involved with their franchise, which is just really rude, leaving Dementium to become its own game. But once again the company tried. When they began prototyping the sequel, they once again pitched the idea to Konami, who this time rejected the idea in a much more polite way, explaining that they were not interested in a Silent Hill title for the DS, leaving Dementium 2 to once again be far removed from the franchise, and allowed Konami to make the weird jump when it came to portable versions by creating Silent Hill Book of Memories. Oh look, another pitch for a mainline Silent Hill game, which was ignored by Konami, leading to it being reworked into its own game. Silent Hill the Box was a concept by Silicon Knights, developers of Eternal Darkness, the Metal Gear Solid remake, and yep, Too Human. Kind of a shame with that one, wasn't it? But literally nothing else is known about the game's concept except its title, and that it would have been a third-person open-world horror game, similar to other games in the series, and quite similar to The Evil Within 2. However, the game itself is not the most interesting part here, as that's literally all we know about it. Instead, it's how confusing the game's development was. Work began on the game as Silicon Knights were working their studio killer 2 Human, hoping for it to become the 5th main entry in the Silent Hill franchise after Team Silent disbanded. However, it's never been confirmed or denied on if the game was actually pitched to Konami or not, which is very strange. However, what is known is that after 2 Human bombed, they changed the name from Silent Hill the Box to just the Box, similar to other entries on this video, removing all the Silent Hill aspects and making it its own standalone game. But the game changed names a second time when THQ bought the rights to it, and it was then changed to The Ritualist before being officially cancelled in 2009 when THQ began having financial problems of their own. And honestly, it's a big shame, as it seems like, from what I can tell, this game would have been a spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness, which is an awesome game, and we're still waiting for a sequel. Like, we are still waiting, but with both Silicon Knights and the original THQ gone now, it's more than likely the game is lost for good, which, like I said, huge shame. Really want an Eternal Darkness sequel, or at least spiritual successor, because it's a damn good game and deserved a lot more credit when it came out than it did. Now it's time for the main part of this video, and wow, what a complete mess from Konami just anything to do with Silent Hills is. It's just so damn messy. I'm going to try to be as accurate and clear as possible, but please bear in mind that there are many different sources claiming many different things when it comes to this game's production. I'm just following the sources that I gathered. If you've heard something differently, please do tell me in the comments, but I've tried to make it as accurate as possible because we still don't fully know, and even 6 years later, things are still coming out about this game, so who knows what's actually accurate and what's not, but I'm going to try to make it as clear as possible, starting straight from the beginning, which essentially means that after the huge failure of both Silent Hill HD Collection and Silent Hill Downpour, Konami decided to loosely reboot the franchise by bringing in Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima to direct and write the game, something he was apparently very excited about. Now, the game would have used Metal Gear Solid 5's groundbreaking Fox engine, which was, and if we're being honest, still is a rather powerful game engine, and it just seemed like a good match for Silent Hill. Now, shortly after this, Kojima brought in fantasy horror director Guillermo del Toro to help direct the game with him, after del Toro's last video game attempt, Insane, was sadly cancelled, allowing him to move on from one video game to a new one, which, as you can see on this list, was also cancelled, which just sucks for del Toro, because I'd love to see him do a game. Now, development on the game had fully entered production, and the two wanted to make the game a new era in Silent Hill, and kind of similar to Resident Evil 7's creation, they looked to the latest horror games being released, such as Amnesia and Outlast, to help them shift the camera perspective from third person to first. But at the same time, Konami had become very worried about the franchise, following two more big disappointments, with Silent Hill Book of Memories being a complete failure, and the second movie adaptation, Silent Hill Revelations, bringing in less than half of the box office of the first film. Now, around 2013, two veterans of the franchise took notice of the game, with Masahiro Ito, the creature designer for the original trilogy, and original composer for the franchise, Akira Yamaoka, both planning to return under Kojima and del Toro's new direction. The horror factor was also massively overhauled, with Kojima stating in an interview, "We originally wanted you to pee your pants, now we want you to shit your pants." Then, finally towards the end of 2013, Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead had officially signed on to play the main protagonist. Now, for the next few months, not much is known basically, until August of 2014 when Konami released PT for the PlayStation 4, a game which, as you can see from the background footage, is very different from the other games, but people actually liked this one. Like, since the original trilogy, sorry Silent Hill 4, but you weren't that good, reception for this one was actually positive. Something I don't think even Konami or Kojima were expecting the amount of positivity this game got. And especially people got excited when they finished the demo and saw the involvement of Kojima, del Toro and Reedus, with it only taking about 20 days for the game to have reached 1 million downloads on the PlayStation Store, according to Sony. Then, for several months, the game's development went completely silent, no pun intended, until March of 2015 when rumours began spreading that Kojima and Konami had split, with Kojima taking his entire production company away from Konami, leaving Silent Hill's development to be put into question. Shortly after this as well, Metal Gear Solid 5's advertising had Kojima's name taken off of it, despite him still being director, and despite a Konami spokesperson stating their working relationship with Kojima was completely fine. Now, another month passed, and towards the end of April, Del Toro himself was reported to have stated the game was cancelled at the San Francisco Film Society, with Norman Reedus confirming this the next day. Konami, however, remained silent on Silent Hills, but did confirm they would be pulling PT from the PlayStation Store indefinitely, until finally confirming a day later that development on Silent Hills would stop permanently. But they still planned on creating a new entry one day to replace the cancelled game. And that's kind of it. Silent Hills was rumoured to be near completion as well, which means its cancellation is even more shocking and baffling. Just anything to do with Konami nowadays is just baffling. But it just doesn't make any sense. No game has been released in the series since 2012. There's rumours of a new game being in development, but those are still just rumours, and Konami themselves have shot down these rumours multiple times. Honestly, it just really sucks, and no, Death Stranding was not an adequate replacement. I'm sorry, but that game's just weird for the sake of weird, and it's not very good mechanically. So, yeah, that's where the franchise is now, constantly stuck in development hell, with Konami refusing to make a new game due to their pachinko machines doing so well, and Kojima fully moved on to other projects. It's a massive shame from how good the game looked like it could be, and a huge reinvention for the Silent Hill franchise is something it needs right now. And from the looks of it, if we do get a new Silent Hill game, it's just going to be a new Silent Hill game, which is massively disappointing. So, thank you for watching this video. The last one, Silent Hills, really does suck, as Silent Hill was one of the originators of survival horror games, along with Resident Evil, Clock Tower and Alone in the Dark. Even if it did outlive Clock Tower, and even the worst Silent Hill games are better than anything Alone in the Dark sticks its name on lately, I still hope one day we will get a Silent Hill game. Hopefully one that we were actually promised with Silent Hills or something similar, but until then, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and thank you all for helping my Resident Evil video do as well as it did. Yeah, YouTube recommended that to a ton of people, so it's like the 14 or 15 of you who saw that from YouTube recommending it. Welcome. I'm weird as shit, but until next time, I hope you all have a lovely week, and enjoy your time about being disappointed that Silent Hills will never happen. Goodbye.